Some of you may know I'm very passionate about baseball, so I wanted to talk about what I learned out of it and how it affected me and my life. I first discovered baseball in a unique way. Many of you might have got into your sport because you saw it on TV and thought it was cool, or you were influenced by other people. However, I'm the oldest out of my siblings, and our family didn't have a TV. I learned about the sport through a Japanese reading comprehension worksheet around first grade. I didn't know what baseball was, so I asked my dad, and a few weeks later, he took me to a game. I didn't have a clue what was going on, but I liked the atmosphere and how the players were hitting the ball so far. After that, I started to hit with a sponge bat and ball in a park with my dad for fun. Around 2 years later, I decided to join an actual team. Since I've played baseball in two different countries, I've learned a lot about the cultural differences between Japan and the United States. Both play styles are totally different from the other, and the cultural differences affect how the game is played. Japan plays small ball, which is just putting runners on base and scoring them in, while in the US it is the exact opposite by hitting home runs. In Japan, we play more old school like and still do things that have existed for a long time. Things like shouting often to show spirit and homogeneity still exist that the previous generation was doing, which is affecting how youth players are developed. In addition, every player is developed in the same way, so not many people stand out in Japanese baseball. Coaches teaches the players to do the same form in all fields of baseball, like the players are programmed to do the same thing as everyone else. This can be throughout everywhere in this country too. Another aspect of the Japanese game is that players are most likely to sacrifice themselves a lot to make the team win. Something like a bunt sacrifices the players so they can advance the runners closer to home plate and that the better batters after can score them by hitting them in. Many players are hesitant to bunt in the US because it makes them look weak and showing that they can't hit. This, for the team, leads all the way to World War II and beyond, where people sacrifice themselves like the kamikaze suicide attacks. Sacrifice is the highest form of honor in Japanese culture, so if people sacrifice themselves, people often consider them a martyr. Another difference is that players must be formal and respectful to everyone and everything. This applies to daily life as well, and it is very noticeable. If you have been to Japan, you might recall that everyone is polite to each other, and in baseball, younger players call me Tanaka-san, which literally translates to Mr. Tanaka. The hierarchy of students is a great deal. By playing in Japan, I realized that many things that are done in military are done in baseball, like the hierarchy, sacrifices, and working in unison. Switching over to the US, compared to Japan, it is very different. The first thing I notice is that American practices are way more enjoyable than the Japanese ones because the coaches and teammates make the environment lighthearted and fun to be around. In Japan, my weekends were filled with baseball. I used to get up at 5 to 6 a.m., practice about from 7:30 a.m. to around 5:30 p.m. And after practice, as a team, we run about 5 to 10 miles every weekend. Also, since I've been away from Japan for quite some time, I have no clue what the recent trends that my teammates were talking about, so I didn't have that much fun overall. At Eaglebrook, the practices are only about 2 hours long, and the coaches and teammates do a great job making the practices enjoyable. I also believe that American baseball is played more individually. In America, I feel that everyone wants to be the star, while in Japan, everyone is more humble, and players won't mind if they play terribly but still won. Also in the US, everyone is trained differently to fit the player's playstyle. Because I've been taught baseball in Japan and America, many of the things I learned from both countries have made me a better player. The influence from the US has made me a better hitter because of the tips I learned, while the forms of fielding and throwing has made me a better defensive player. In addition to all the things I've learned, without baseball, I wouldn't have met many people that I would have over the last few years. There are a couple of students and faculty members that I developed relationships with, mostly because of baseball. I also got to know more people that I may have never really talked to. If I didn't play this sport, I don't think I would have had many relationships with people I now consider close friends. Baseball had a great effect on me more than most things happened in my life. Without this, I don't know what my life would be like since I've devoted so much time into it and built important relationships with other people. Also, it is going to affect my future greatly. Things I've learned from both countries have been useful to me in many ways. Lastly, I want to thank everyone who has made my Eaglebrook life very smooth and easy to fit into, especially all the teachers and faculty members who has helped me get better as an academic student and a better person in general. Also, the diverse group of students and friends who have made this life experience one I will never forget. But most of all, I would like to thank my parents for giving me this opportunity in the first place. Without them, I would not be the same person I am today. My name is Yuri Tanaka, and this is my 4th year on the Hill. Thank you.